Welcome to the Determined Mom Show, the only marketing podcast dedicated to guiding mom CEOs into tranquility, wealth, and multiplying those precious moments. Welcome to episode 173 of the Determined Mom Show. I am your host, Amanda Tento, and I am also very excited. I always say this at the beginning of every episode because I am always very excited about the guest, and I'm always very excited about every single topic, whether there's a guest or whether it's just me. Today, we're going to talk about 3 things that you must do if you're trying to rank on Google. There are some basics, and let's talk about why you would want to be ranking on Google. You want to show up as close to the top of Google as possible. Because if you show up on the second page, the third page, the fourth page, the fifth page, the sixth page, the 20th page of results, you're not going to be seen. 97% of people do not click through to the second page of Google results. That means if you're over there, you're not getting found. So that is why it's super, super important to be ranking on the front page of Google. There are 2 different places that you can rank. And the first one is the Google My Business listings at the top, which is the map pack. And you'll see 3 businesses listed, and you'll see a little bit of detail about each of their businesses in those rectangles. Then the second place you can rank is going to be below that in the organic search results. So this is if your website is displaying the text that Google thinks that's the most relevant for this query that the person has put in, your website will show up underneath of there in one of those search results. Now, of course, there's going to be ads on top. There's going to be ads on the bottom, and then there may even be ads in the middle now. I've noticed that Google is, especially on mobile, Google just starts throwing ads in the middle. And so you're scrolling through all these ads, so you see even more ads than you would have before. But it's good for the advertisers, and it's also good for people that want to scroll to the second page because you don't really know where the second page is now on mobile. Very smart, Google. But they are always very smart, unfortunately, and they always know how to keep changing things, right? That is why you're going to want to rank on Google, because you want people to find you, period. You want the ideal customer that is searching for your service or your product to find you. That's as simple and as difficult as it gets. It's just, that is the reason. So with that said, the first thing you need to do if you want to rank on Google is definitely 100% have a Google My Business listing that's complete, it's filled out, it's optimized, and it is everything that all of the signals that you need to give to Google are there. Yes, you need a phone number. Yes, you need any type of link to your website is great. But the funny thing is you don't actually need a website to rank on Google. You need a Google My Business listing, and you can also they give you a free website. So Google creates a website based on what your Google My Business information is. So they'll actually create it, and you can just click on the left-hand side website, and can publish that website. So that is an option if you don't have a website. So I bet you thought number 2 was going to be website, but it's not. But it is kind of. That is the first thing that you need to do if you want to be ranking on Google. The second thing is make sure that all of your social media, your Google My Business, your website, if you have one, make sure all of it has the same name. And what I mean by that is if, for example, my business is called TDM Marketing, right? All of my social media has TDM Marketing on it. So that way Google knows that, oh, this is the same page, this is the same business as the one over there on LinkedIn, the one over there on Pinterest, the one over there on Instagram, the one over there on Facebook. So by making sure that you have all of that information the same, and not only just your name, but your name, address, and phone number should be the same on every single listing that you have out there. The reason for this is because Google will figure out that it's you. Yay! Go Google. And that's definitely the best thing that you can do is to make sure that all of those are named correctly. The third thing you can do to try to rank, or if you must try to rank on Google, the third thing you must do if you're trying to rank on Google is make sure that if you have a website, that it is optimized. And by optimized, I mean you must make sure that you have an SSL. That means that your website is secure. It's an HTTPS. Google generally is no longer serving up HTTP or unsecure websites. So if it's an HTTP, don't even bother thinking that you might be ranking, because that's not going to happen. So there's just some basic things that need to be done on your website, and that is one of them. Another basic thing that you need to have done on your website is you need to have a decent load time. And to check your load time, you can go to GT, as in good time, metrics.com, and metrics is spelled with an X instead of a CS. And this will, you just put in your website URL, and this will give you a report on how your website is doing. And for all of us kids from like the 90s, where they still used like the grading system, the A through F, I know they still do that in my daughter's middle school, but they don't do it in elementary school anymore. So if you're a child of the A through F reporting system in school, then you will understand immediately how your website is doing, because they give you a score of A through F. So if your website is amazing, they're going to give you a big green A. If it's horrible, they're going to give you a big red F. Yay for color coding, and yay for giving us something we can easily, quickly understand. So that is how you're going to know if your website is quick and if it is optimized. Another thing that you need to make sure that you're doing is filling out meta descriptions for each page on your website. And that's just a little tiny blurb that shows up on the search of Google that gives people information about what that particular web page is about. If you do this yourself, Google is more likely to display it. And it's also more likely to display your listings accurately, your web pages accurately for the things that you want to show up for. So keep that in mind as well. And those are the main, most important things. Oh, call to action buttons are also very important. So you want to make sure that you have one call to action button that's above like the fold, which is where like, above the fold means like on the front page of a newspaper, the fold in the newspaper, everything that's extremely important goes above that fold, because that's how the newspaper sits on the shelf. In website terminology, basically, as soon as your website loads, that call to action button has to be in the visual area before people scroll. So they don't have to open up that newspaper, or they don't have to scroll down that website in order to find your call to action button. That is a very important thing to make sure that you have. You want it to be the most actionable call to action. So if you have clients book appointments with you primarily, then you want it to be an appointment booking button. If they call you, then it should be a call button. Everything should be kind of mapped out in your sales funnel. And this will help you to convert. This will help you to not lose people when they actually come to your webpage. If you go to a webpage and it takes like 800 years to load, then you think, oh, this must be broken, and you just leave. So that's what's called a bounce. So making sure that you have a quick website and also a very visual, easy to find call to action will help you with that bounce rate. If someone goes to your website, they can't figure out what to do, they're not sure where to get the information they need, the menu's confusing, all of those things, they're just going to leave. Keep that in mind. So those are 3 things that you must do if you are trying to rank on Google. I hope that these 3 things, they shouldn't be overwhelming. They should be very easy. And I hope that you find them actionable as well, because it's going to help you to rank quicker than ever. Thank you so much for listening. And please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you are listening to this, or any other platform that you're listening to that accepts reviews. We would love it. And we always love to hear your reviews, read them. And I love just interacting with all of the listeners. So have a wonderful week.
Thank you for listening to the Determined Mom Show. We appreciate you, and we would love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. This will help us reach as many other moms as we can. Don't forget to download your 10 things you should be doing to get more clients from Google Search Guide at rebrand.ly/Google10.